Mizzah, it's the show about Mizzah Tee. It's the show about Mizzah Tee. Hey there, fools. Mizzah Tee back with another one. Yeah, and another one. Yeah, so this is basically part 2 to my boy Red Knight of Active Gamer Life's recent video called Nintendo Switch, I Know Why You Mad. So this one is Nintendo Switch, I Know Why You Mad Too. Yeah, shout out to Red Knight. Go check out his video first before you watch this one, and you'll understand the narrative and where I'm going with this, where I'm going to be continuing on with what he said, and reiterating some stuff that he said as well. So let's get it going. Basically, his video, to paraphrase it, is about, it actually had a lot to do with some of the responses to my last video, talking about people, making these stupid arguments against the Switch and about how much it costs and all this stuff. So this is kind of relating to that as well. It's like, I couldn't understand why all this stuff was happening. People who have paid $600 for a PS3 with just a controller, or people who paid $500 for an Xbox One with a Kinect that nobody wanted, and to complain about the Switch that comes with everything you need out of the box, not to mention the fact that, it's portable. It's a powerful little portable console as well as a home console. It'll be able to play things like Breath of the Wild on the go, Super Mario Odyssey on the go, Skyrim remastered on the go. I'm sure there's a bunch of stuff in the works that will make people even more mad. And, that's what this video is about. It's just like these people, I've been wanting to make a video like this for a while, so I'm glad Red did this because I was, for a long time wondering where all this hate came from, and it started to make sense to me, over the last few years. Nintendo DS, the Wii era, was the greatest era in Nintendo's history. It was they were the most popular, like Red said. They made easily the most money during that era. And people tried to hate on it, the motion controls and grandmas and grandpas and things of that nature. And nobody, dual screen, that's a gimmick. Everything's a gimmicks. And they tried to downplay the godness, the greatness that was that era. And they kind of succeeded. You had magazines and stuff. You had gaming websites that would almost act like the Wii didn't exist. It was only a battle between the Xbox 360 and the PS3. The Wii didn't exist to these guys. They would always, just kind of exclude the Wii and Nintendo DS. And you see it now even with Pokemon Sun and Moon hitting 16 million in sales on the 3DS, and not a blip. You don't hear these big sites talking about it. Shout out to Zobi70 for mentioning that. This is something that's been going on for a while, and it's just they want to continue the narrative, right? So, PlayStation came in, and a lot of guys, PlayStation, that was their first console. So it wasn't the NES. They don't have the understanding of new experiences and gaming the way we did, just like Red said. I started with basically an Atari, which was a joystick and one button. And to come from that to where we are now, I'm used to new experiences and controls and all that stuff. I expect new experiences and controls because that's what I've had my whole entire gaming life. So, and these guys didn't. They started, maybe some of them started with the first PlayStation controller, which was just the Super Nintendo controller with longer grips. Maybe some of them started there, but a lot of guys started with the DualShock 1, and you go from that to DualShock 4, where they're at now, and there's not that much difference to it. So the ways to play games and control games has pretty much been the same for these guys. And instead of embracing, what most of the industry has been used to forever, it's, no, we're going to cut ourselves off. This is the way. Just give me 1, 2, 3, 4. Give me the same controls forever, and no differences and none of that stuff. And that's what they're used to. And so they're mad at everything else, especially when other things get popular, like motion controls got popular. They got mad at that, instead of embracing it and saying, oh, that's cool. Not really for me, but that's cool. No, they got mad at it. Like it hurt them in some way. And I guess it took away from the fact that there were other ways to play games other than just on the DualShock. You know, even the DS with the dual screen, it was like, oh, that's a gimmick. You know, PSP is going to come out and destroy it. Didn't happen. Well, PSP I think came first, right? I can't remember. You know, and it didn't happen. The PSP sold well console-wise, but the games didn't sell that well because a lot of people were just, you know, hacking the console and putting Super Nintendo games on a cart to play on the go, which is kind of funny. And I have a PSP. I really like the console, so I'm not throwing shade. But, you know, it was that narrative of not wanting change and not wanting anything to, you know, evolve in video games. It's just, I want a controller in my hands with two joysticks, you know, one for looking and one for moving, and that's, you know, basically it. And so they hated everything else that came out. Now, they tried to copy towards the end of the PS3 with the Move and whatnot. It was pretty much too little too late by then. You know, so when the Wii came out, or when the Wii U came out, and it didn't sell well, and they rejoiced. This is great. It was a vindication. You know, the gimmicks are, you know, a detriment to gaming. You know, we don't need, you know, motion controls. We don't need touchscreen gaming. We don't need none of that. So they ran with it. They were so happy. You know, the channels popped up. Guys were getting really popular, just, you know, shitting all over Nintendo. Literally, dudes were literally eating because they were shitting on Nintendo. They got a lot of views, a lot of people, you know, excited and stuff. And there was this whole basically generation of just like rejoicing and hating on the Nintendo Wii U, and just ignoring the 3DS. Again, ignoring the crazy sales, the way games sell, you know, 10, 12 million copy sales of games on the 3DS, ignoring that. So now we came to the Switch. Especially the 3DS guys, even the PS Vita guys see great value in the Switch. And so that's a lot of people already right there starting off. And, you know, the industry is starting to embrace, oh, yeah, I can game on the go. A lot of these journalists and whatnot, oh, I can take this with me and have a full console experience, because everybody's always wanted that. Even me, I've always wanted that. Going back to the Sega Game Gear, I wanted that. But, man, those batteries were just destroyed within a couple hours, and that was very expensive. There was no rechargeables at that point. So you were stuck buying batteries over and over again. But everybody wanted that home console on the go experience, and now the Nintendo Switch is offering that. So people are really excited. Like, and then you've had the reveal, and everybody was excited with the reveal. And then you had like the January 12th, you know, event, you know, get more in depth with the Switch, and, you know, people found cracks in the ceiling they could exploit with the Nintendo Switch. So people started getting upset about things, but that, you know, even with all that, people are still generally excited about it, and people are upset. There's a lot of guys that are upset about that. You're like, oh, we had a chance to destroy this thing before it starts, but people still like this. Why? You know, they're not happy about it at all. They'll try to exploit, the launch lineups and the, you know, this doesn't sound right, or this is too expensive, and blah, 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 blah. And none of it is really working. So they're just sitting around getting even madder, you know. They don't want to have to come over. You know, they don't want to have to come over to the side of sensible gaming, you know. And like core fans are really latching on to the Switch. They're very excited about it. A lot of people are excited about it. Developers love the fact that it's really easy to program for. It just came out that Nintendo has mastered the Unreal Engine. But, you know, Nintendo are gods, so, you know, that's no surprise. But if they've mastered it, just imagine what the developers have done with the Switch. They probably, you know, mastered developing on the Switch as well. Everybody's happy, like especially going from PC to the Switch. I heard was like a dream, basically a dream to do. Very easy to do that. And that is music to my ears, and a lot of core gamers love that. And there's these guys who've been groomed on hating Nintendo for, you know, 10 years or longer, and they don't like this excitement around it. Remember late last year when IGN Game Scoop was talking about the Sonic games, the new Sonic games coming out, Sonic Mania and the other 3D Sonic game? Remember when they were talking about that, and then they went off into this whole tangent about how Sonic was never good, just, you know, straight bullshit, you know, hating on Sonic. Like, look, I can acknowledge that Sonic games especially the later ones, in between, weren't that great. Some of them were mediocre. Some of them were terrible at best. And I can acknowledge that. But to say that Sonic was never good, I mean, the hatred was palpable. Like it was crazy. Like one of the guys went on to say that Sonic fans just want to sleep with Biggs the cat and all kinds of just hateful, disturbing things. Like that's the type of hate that we're dealing with here. No coincidence that Brian Altano was the guy who got that started. The guy who went on the PlayStation podcast and totally switched out, to coin a phrase, switched out from Nintendo. And his boy Jose Otero didn't like the fact that I called him a fraud. But to say that Sonic, has never been good when Sonic 1, 2, 3, Sonic and Knuckles, Sonic CD, Sonic Adventure 1 and 2, Sonic Heroes, a gameplay I just put up. Sonic Colors. I mean, there's a bunch that I can talk about. And yeah, there's definitely some terrible, mediocre ones in there, like Sonic and the Secret Rings, I think, and Sonic the Black Knight. And I guess you can count Shadow the Hedgehog as a Sonic game. That was awful. And there's a bunch of stuff. But to say that it was never good, I mean, that's the type of hate you're dealing with. They hate the legacy. That's what it is. They hate the legacy, and they hate to have to talk about it just because, I don't know. Some of these guys are old enough to be able to be a part of that legacy, and to see them, it's just kind of strange. Like, that's the same kind of hate that you get with these Nintendo haters. You develop a hate, even a animosity towards the thing that got you started, because you're always constantly asked about that thing. And it also reminds me of like Nas. Nas in a song said that he hates doing interviews because he doesn't get the credit he deserves. He said in a song is like, I don't get the credit I deserve. That's why I hate doing interviews. And you can see Nintendo in the interviews, they don't get the credit they deserve. They get disrespected by a lot of dudes. Like, obviously Jeff Keighley is one of the biggest dudes that just disrespects the gods, and I'm in the woods here. I'm in the weeds, but I'm just trying to explain where this hate comes from. It's just the fact that these guys have been around so long, Nintendo, and they're not on top anymore. And there's a chance that they could be. And these guys are afraid, especially right now. A lot of these Xbox fanboys are really upset because nobody's talking about the Scorpio outside of a few people. And it's mostly shade against the Scorpio. Like, people have said it's gonna flop. I don't know. I don't really care. I'm not gonna get one. So, you hear this stuff, and they're really upset right now because it's all about the Switch right now. Even if it's bad or good, it's about the Switch. Everybody's talking Switch, and nobody's really talking about the Xbox Scorpio except for them. And it's like, oh, this thing's coming out, soon. And the thing is that Xbox fanboys have been under siege by PlayStation fanboys for the last couple of years because the power race, the power rush. Like Xbox One isn't as powerful as PS4. It's slightly less powerful than PS4. So they've been getting destroyed by that, and the 1080p, crap and all that. And they don't like that. They were used to being, quote unquote, on top of PlayStation last gen for most of the gen. And now they've had to like kind of eat crow about graphics and stuff. And they haven't been, they're not used to that. And now they have the Scorpio coming out. It's like, oh, now we can win the graphics argument. But nobody cares anymore. It's like people have moved on. They thought the PlayStation fanboys actually cared about graphics, and they didn't. They only cared about winning and being on top. So the argument's going to change once the Scorpio comes out, but nobody's going to care about graphics anymore. It's going to be, well, we got the exclusives, and that's already happening right now. And now they're out of arguments, and they're upset that Nintendo has the shine right now. And no matter what they say, it doesn't seem to be working against Nintendo. Like, core fans, everybody is happy about the Switch coming out. There's a lot of goodwill and fervor around the Switch, and these guys cannot stand it. I've kind of been all over the place in this video, but I just want to explain animosity, builds up when you're the foundation, when you're the gods, like Nintendo is. And you know, a lot of guys came in the industry because of Nintendo, and they talk about, you know, Cliffy B have says things. A lot of companies out there, a lot of guys for different companies have said Nintendo was a huge influence on them, and now they're tired of hearing about Nintendo. So it's like now there's a damn. I had a good analogy for this. Oh yeah, the four devils. They're facing the four devils right now, and it's greed, jealousy, hate, envy. You know, they had an envy for Nintendo. They have an envy for the fact that they're the gods, and they just can't deal with it. And the fact that this narrative of, you know, the kiddie console, all that stuff is not working. It's not hurting Nintendo anymore. They're upset, and they're gonna get madder and madder. The more popular Switch get, the more games that come out for it. The more they see it in the streets, because Nintendo Switch is the best commercial. The console itself is the best commercial of all time. You know why? Because there's nothing can beat you going on a bus or a train or to some convention or something and seeing somebody playing a console quality game on their handheld device, on their tablet device. Nothing can beat that. No commercial can beat that. Then somebody seeing that and then, hey, you want to play? Let me pull off these Joy-Cons and let's do 2-player. What? You can do that? That's cool. Like, they're upset about that. And I'm overjoyed. I'm gonna watch these channels that have grown on hate for the Nintendo and in the past, and just see how they wiggle and what they do to survive in the coming months and years. It's gonna be fun. It's a great time for Nintendo gamers. You know, we deserve to have some shine as well. So I'm happy. Everybody should be happy. This is a cool console for everybody. So for everybody, literally everybody, should be happy about it. But, you know, like I said, there are people who have been grown up in a narrative and that they can't escape. And so it's going to get ugly. But I think the Nintendo Switch is going to do well. And I'm excited. So, yeah, that's it. Make sure, like I said, go check out Red Knight's video. He allowed me to call this part 2. So make sure you watch part 1. It obviously was an inspiration for this. And yeah, that's all for this one. Let me know what you think in the comments below, as always. And I'll see you fools next time. Peace out.
Thank you all for watching Mizzah Tee Show.